Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, ya lie, lie, lie. Ya, ya lie, lie, lie. 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 Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, ya lie, lie, lie. Ya, ya, lie, lie, lie. 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 Ya, lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, ya lie, lie, lie.
When I am burying somebody that I loved very much, I find it necessary to change the language slightly of the service in the rabbi's manual. Instead of talking about how her friends grieve in their darkened world, I want to make it first person. I'm here with you, all of you. It's hard to imagine a world without Jayne Schiff walking in it. If it were possible that Shakespeare had her in mind, she would have been his muse as he wrote, "Though she be but little, she is fierce." Death has taken our beloved Jayne Schiff. Our friends grieve in our darkened world. In our silence, there is lamentation. Lost in our sorrow, may we find the presence of loving friends. Hear them. God, help us be with them. For Jayne's love, which united us in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and her mind that brought us joy and happiness and is now but a precious remembrance. For all of these gifts and for so much more, we give our thanks to God. Bud is a captain in the U.S. Navy. Firm, confident, reliable under pressure. Kara is an experienced EMT, understands the situations that will catch you by surprise. Matthew, I don't know what you do, but when we think about the words of the 23rd Psalm and how we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't know what brave Bud drew upon. I don't know what confident Kara drew upon. I don't know what any of you drew upon. But as we ushered Jayne through these last many months, since we were told they are finite, we walked through the valley of the shadow of death. And maybe it was God who accompanied us, but I won't claim we were unafraid.
Adonai roi lo echsar binorta sheyar bitzeni al mei manuchot al mei manuchot yenaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'magalei tzedek yancheni b'magalei tzedek leman shemo gam ki elach b'geit salmavet lo hirara ki ata imadi shiftecha umishantacha hema yenachamuni ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai dishanta vashamen roshi kosi revaya ach tov chesed yudefuni kol yamei chayai kol yamei chayai v'shavti bevet Adonai leorech yamim Adonai roi lo echsar Adonai roi lo echsar
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. I'm going to share two readings. The first is Psalm 15, and then I'll make a comment in between the two. The psalm asks the question and then answers it. God, who gets to abide forever in your house? Who gets to dwell in your holy mountain? Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless, but honor those who revere God, who give their word and, come what may, do not retract, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. The people who live in this way are the ones that shall never be shaken. We all know that when we first meet another, it takes time for us to decide what sort of person they are. And when I first met Bud and Jayne, I confess I needed more time. Shortly upon our arrival into Stamford, Bud and Jayne extended no, answer it, go ahead. Bud and Jayne warmly invited my wife and me to join them first at their home for a drink and then to dinner in Greenwich. And when we got to their home, Jayne walked us through every room of their house and pointed out every piece of artwork on the walls. And in many cases told us the price. And I had to ask myself, what kind of person is this? It didn't take long for me to understand. Why don't we all take a moment and turn off cell phones? Should we all do that? Let's pause. Even if you think it's silenced, just take a quick check, double check. So it's Jayne letting us know what she thinks about what I had to say just now. It didn't take long for me to understand that, in fact, Jayne embodies the expression of an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. And now I'm going to read that text because I didn't know if the first one applied to her. It does. The second one, there's no question. Eshet Chayil meyimtze, a woman of valor, who can find? She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She's clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is always on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, Jayne, but you excel them all. She was realistic. When she received a terminal diagnosis, she was clear. It had to be on her terms. And while she would have liked more time, she would have liked for the things of this world not to come to an end. When they were coming to a close for her, she accepted it with dignity. And so I could imagine her saying these words herself, but now they reflect our feelings. My God, I pray that these things never end.
Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol ve'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, beraka shamayim, tfilat ha'adam, hachol ve'hayam, rishru shel hamayim, beraka shamayim, tfilat ha'adam. O God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
Journeys are defined by stages, chapters, milestones. Sometimes they're clear and obvious, like a wedding day or a funeral day. Sometimes they're harder to put your finger on. But sometime in the last several months, Jayne's decline began and it got harder. And when during the week of Yom Kippur, the week between the holidays, she realized that she didn't have the strength to stand up here on the holiday and to read the Torah portion, which we had come to think of as hers, which she read to us every year. We needed to stand in. My son was able to do so, and she couldn't even be with us in person. And after the holiday, I was sitting with her in your home, Bud, and we were talking about it, and she said how beautifully he'd done, which of course, I already knew. And then, really? I was deeply touched when Jayne said something to the effect of, I guess it's his portion now. Birth is a beginning, and death is a destination. But life is a journey. It's a going and it's a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity, and from youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and from ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then for some on to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or from strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, And back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness. From loneliness to love. From joy to gratitude. From pain to compassion. From grief to understanding. From fear to faith. And from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. That day, I felt that Jayne had visited that high point along the way of delivering a Torah portion with great love, great honor, seriousness. But then she recognized that handing it on to a young one who would come after her was a part of her journey. I was so impressed with her poise. Yes, birth is a beginning and death is a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. In these moments, each of you has so many enduring images and memories and stories about this remarkable human being. And there will be time for you to share those stories, and I beg that you do at her Shiva in the coming days at her home. But today we're going to hear from the three who were closest with her. Her partner of 57 years, we're rounding up. Her son and her daughter. They're the ones who will deliver the eulogies this morning. They're the ones who are helping us put yet another frame around our relationship with Jayne Schiff. Bud?
First of all, the outpouring of people who've reached out just is incredible. So far, we've received over 300 condolence posts on social media. Thank you all for your kind support and beautiful, heartfelt expressions of sympathy. You expressed how much of an impact Jayne had on your lives, and you related your memories, how Jayne inspired you. Made me tear up as I read them and recall how special she was. She touched so many lives. Jayne and I shared our lives for almost 60 years of relationship. We're both type A personalities, so frequent arguing seemed to be standard operating procedures for us. But there was never a moment when we weren't totally in love with each other. We were the most important people in each other's life. There's nothing that we wouldn't do to protect and support each other in every respect. Jayne was my soulmate, and I imagine she felt the same way about me. She was one of the most elegant, most brilliant, most compassionate, and most caring people I've ever known. She was tenacious and loyal to a fault for her family, her clients, and her friends. No one could ask for a better, more reliable, and more supportive friend than Jayne. Jayne was utterly devoted to her children and grandchildren, as well as to the 12 pet dogs we shared our lives with over the many years together. These dogs were a member of our family and still are. Jayne was a lifelong student, amassing 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 master's degrees, and 5 formidable professional designations. She never gave up. 2 weeks ago, I saw her taking a comprehensive 4-hour online exam to renew her 2025 insurance licenses. She never quit. When she knew the ending was approaching, she wanted to have control as to how this was going to take place. She asked the rabbi to come by. She asked Cantor Micah to come by. She had me, and she gave us the instructions of what she was looking for. She always liked to challenge people, so she did challenge Cantamaica. She told her, here's a song I would like you to do at my funeral. And it was a challenging song. And thank you for taking it upon yourself to bring it up, and you'll all hear it at some point later on. We shared so many experiences, including developing many friendships and strong personal relationships, from involvement with my U.S. Navy community, which extends more than 60 years, to our numerous corporate and industry activities, and to our various philanthropic interests. We had a lot in common: a love of music and theater, a love of fine wines and fine dining, a love of global traveling, and a love of cruising, both on our own boats and our favorite cruise ships. I am so grateful that we got to take our last extended trip together this past August, where we began in Reykjavik, Iceland, then boarded one of our favorite cruise ships to circumnavigate Iceland, winding up in London, where we spent another week visiting some of our favorite haunts and restaurants, and several other historic British attractions throughout the Cotswolds. This somewhat exhausting trip lasted about 3 weeks, and we were accompanied by our dear friend and frequent travel companion, Cindy Goldberg. Jayne had a long history of lung cancer. It was genetic in her family. Her father and her 2 older sisters all died from lung cancer. Her cancer was first detected in an early stage about 25 years ago, and having a lobe of her lung that contained 2 small tumors surgically removed, it appeared that she was then cancer-free, and she lived for more than 20 years, committed to constant follow-up exams and scans, finding no evidence of recurring cancer. But in January of 2023, symptoms arose again, and it turned out that the cancer had returned with a vengeance. By the time it was diagnosed, she had stage 4 cancer, which had metastasized. The prognosis was that she might only have 3 or 4 months to live. But those of you who knew her knew she was a ferocious fighter, persistent, and a very private person when it came to herself. We explored numerous options and landed a fantastic oncology team, headed in Greenwich by Dr. Sung Lee of Yale New Haven. And we had a brilliant, compassionate collaborator in New York City, in Dr. Morano Vashnik of Lenox Hill Hospital. Jayne made it clear to them that the quantity of life she might receive from aggressive treatments meant little if it hindered her continued high-energy quality of life. For example, she refused treatment that would cause her to lose her hair. She did not want to be seen or considered an invalid by others, and she clearly wasn't seeking sympathy. We let very few people know of her illness. With the programs and treatments that she embarked upon with Drs. Lee and Vashnik, Jayne survived almost 2 years. And until a few weeks ago, anybody that met her had no idea she suffered any illness. She continued to maintain a rigorous schedule. Her vitality was strong. She continued to dress to the nines. She loved attending the many galas and formal parties we had during that time. However, a few weeks ago, after she had stopped further treatments, the cancer finally took control, and she rapidly went downhill from there. Last week, recognizing her declining quality, she finally elected to accept home hospice care, and she ultimately succumbed to this dreaded disease this past Saturday night, November 9th. She passed peacefully at our home, surrounded by family and her beloved pet dogs. While her passing was peaceful, it was perhaps the most devastating moment of my life. Our lives together have truly been blessed. These last few weeks have been sustained largely due to to the heroic support of our incredible daughter, Kara, a 36-year EMT who took a leave of absence from her job at Greenwich Emergency Medical Services, GEMS, and devoted all of her time to supporting and comforting Jayne through this rough and uncomfortable time for Jayne. Kara has been a godsend to both Jayne and me, and I'm so grateful for the love and devotion and compassion and presence she provided to comfort both of us during this challenging time. It was always my belief that Jayne would survive me, rather than the other way around. I'm not sure how well equipped I am to move on without her, but I do know I have a terrific emotional support team from my devoted family, and I will continue to immerse myself in work with my cherished role at Alvarez & Marcel, my partnership in a significant think tank, Insurex, made up of some of the most experienced and successful minds in the financial services industry, and my ongoing membership in several nonprofit veterans-related boards. I believe that death ends a life, but it does not end a relationship, which continues on in the hearts and minds of survivors. Death cannot kill what never dies, and in our memories, she will live on in our hearts. I'll miss her when there's an empty seat at the table, an empty space between us. But the love we gave and the love we received will hopefully endure and ease the pain of loss. The rabbi read one of my favorite poems in entirety, but paraphrasing from that poem, birth is a beginning and death a destination. Life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage for life everlasting. Jayne, I will always love and adore you. You fought a courageous battle. Now go rest in peace.
Please give me a moment while I open my phone. All of my notes are here. Mom, what can a son say? I think the last time I was standing up here, I was at my bar mitzvah. And I was taught by Rabbi Pierce, don't look at the eyes. Look over everybody's head. You'll do just fine. That way you don't get too emotional. You stay above everything. I've been told since I was a little kid, Mom, you did everything for me. Well, maybe just a little she did everything for me. But while I was her baby, if you were a friend, client, an insurance colleague, a temple member, a neighbor, or a childhood friend of hers, you knew how much she loved you, truly. Spending time with you, and if you were lucky enough, traveling with her. She loved to travel, and if she traveled with you, she made you feel like you were family. Over a lifetime, she touched so many of you. You know what I mean. In fact, you're probably thinking of that one or two times that stand out about her right now. The trip that you had, a special meal, a meeting, a family gathering, or maybe even a day on the water, on the boat with her over the years. Can you remember your favorite day with her? I sure can. That being said, Dad mentioned how when Mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2023, again, Nancy and I decided, we need to spend time with her and Dad. We need to get away, take the boat, and go on a weeks-long vacation to our special places all over New England on the boat. What the hell were we thinking? 4 people on a 42-foot boat for 10 days? With Jayne literally doing what she does best, watching every detail of what somebody does, making sure it's done exactly right. Yes, you know what I'm talking about. It was what she did. If something was to be done correctly, it was her responsibility to remind that person, especially her son, daughter, daughter-in-law, or grandkids, how to do it exactly right. Because if you were doing anything, you had to do it right. You had to do it perfectly. And that extended to those taking care of her as well. I remember a time before Kara was born. We had gone through 3, 4, maybe 5 housekeepers at that time. We were on our 6th housekeeper. And one particular day, this nanny called Mom after I came home from school to complain about me. Well, what's new? You know, there's a lot to complain about me. But why was she doing this? The reason why was because when I was watching the housekeeper, she was putting away the groceries improperly. They were not in the right place. Well, when Mom came home, she looked at the cabinet, told the new housekeeper, Matthew was right, and the door was over there. A week later, she hired Carmen, who was with us for over 30 years. Carmen was family. Carmen was Kara's second mom. And she was Mom's best friend for over 30 years and a trusted confidant. Mom was intense, a trailblazer in the insurance industry, a force to be reckoned with, and in fact, a 1978 Who's Who in America recipient for her achievements in the insurance business in the 1970s. Everything she tackled had to be done at the highest level. And as Dad said, even 3 weeks before her death, she was adamant that she needed to get recertified for her health license in 2025 so that her clients could be taken care of. And I have to say, she was probably the best teacher and mentor, because everything I ever learned in the insurance industry, how to take care of clients, how to document clients, how to be there for my clients, came from her. But as a mother, you know, she would always check in on me, even when I was at prep school, college. And sometimes it was a little too much. When I was in college, I remember she would call the fraternity house. At that time, it was a payphone downstairs at the bottom of the steps. It became the running joke that when the phone rang, the brothers would answer the phone, hear my mother's voice, and say, "Matt, ball and chain's on the phone." But they all knew Mom. They loved Mom dearly. And I've spoken to a number of my fraternity brothers over the last few days. Had the pleasure of seeing my little brother and my pledge brother, and they were very kind and gave me big hugs. At the end of my freshman year, and my fraternity brothers said, "Here, you're our newly elected treasurer." They handed me a box. They said, "Here's the checkbook, here's the ledger, and a letter from the IRS." Who did I call? Mom. For the next 3 months, we cleared this up, got ourselves cleaned up, and in fact, she helped me take a budget that was about $30,000 a semester with a $10,000 debt to our national and about another $5,000 to the IRS. We figured out how to make the budget work, becoming creative, using our finances and putting it all together. But no girl was good enough for her little baby, and she never went easy on them. Over time, I learned if I could leave the girl that I was dating with my mother for 30 to 60 minutes, and afterwards that girl still wanted to return with me, she might be a keeper. It wasn't until after I had a conversation with Mom that she got the final stamp of approval, or not. Needless to say, it wasn't an easy vetting process for any girl who wanted to date me. But she didn't only watch who I dated. While at Tabor, my prep school in Mass, she got to know every teacher of mine, taking a vested interest in explaining to them that Matthew was a bright kid, dyslexic, but just misunderstood. My freshman geometry teacher, Mrs. Roller, during Parents' Weekend said, Matthew just doesn't get it. And Mom wasn't having any of that. She explained about my learning disability while the teacher was looking at her with a blank stare, walked her through how I needed to learn, and the following year, I had that same teacher for Algebra 2. In that meeting, she said to my mother, Matthew's like a different kid. I thought he was just torturing me in geometry, but in algebra, he's one of our best students. It was this experience with me that drove her to become a special needs advocate and dedicated her time and efforts to work with my sister and the Eagles Hill School, where you can still see her shining face in the film that she was so passionate about. If you can see what I hear. In that movie, you can see her, Kara, as well as some of the teachers that I had, and a dear friend, Rick Lavoie, who is taking ordinary people through what it was like being a learning disabled child. I can say because of Mom and her passion for special needs, hundreds of thousands of kids around the world are no longer misunderstood. No story about Mom would ever be complete without her love for her family, her grandchildren, Courtney, Alexa, Ty, Nicholas, James, Sophia, and Noah, wherever El Diablo is. Shopping on the avenue with the kids, going to Cancun, special dinners for the family, and our trips via the boat with the original four. In closing, because I could literally stand here for an hour and tell you story after story after story and entertain you with how great she was, this pretty much sums her up best. She was all the following: an incredible mother, a loving wife, a sophisticated and classy woman, a passionate person who cared deeply for those around her, brilliant, a force to be reckoned with, a great friend, a pretty good cook. And she'd say, what? Only a pretty good cook? She did some great stuff, though. An insurance mogul, female trailblazer, a glass ceiling breaker, a powerful woman's right person, and most of all, my mother. Love you, Mom.
I probably won't look up. Okay. We gather here today to celebrate the life of an extraordinary woman, my mother, Jayne Schiff. It is difficult to put into words the immense impact she had on each of us, but I will do my best to honor her memory and the legacy she leaves behind. Mom was truly a force to be reckoned with. Her spirit was vibrant, her determination unyielding, and her love for her family was boundless. From an early age, she taught me the values of hard work, perseverance, and the importance of standing up for what you believe in and those in need. She was not just my mother. She was my role model, my confidant, my greatest supporter. I remember the day she decided to go back to school to pursue her undergraduate degree at Marymount College. I was in awe of her tenacity. She was a busy mom with 2 children, each facing their own challenges, yet she never wavered in her pursuit of education. She taught me that it was never too late to follow your dreams and that knowledge is a powerful tool. Her graduation was not just a personal victory, it was a lesson for all of us about the importance of hard work and dedication. Mom didn't stop there. With her fierce determination and unwavering love, she decided to continue her education and earned a master's degree in special education from Manhattanville College. This was not just a career choice for her, it was a calling. Having 2 children with learning disabilities, she understood the struggles that came with it, and she was committed to making a difference, not only in our lives, but in the lives of countless others. She became an advocate for children with special needs, tirelessly fighting for their rights and ensuring that they had the support they deserved. Taking her lifelong career in insurance and advocacy to the next level by receiving her master's in science and financial services from the American College. Her career in insurance was not just a job, it was a means to an end. She wanted to ensure that her children and grandchildren had the opportunity to thrive. I watched as she poured her heart into work, using her expertise to help families navigate the complexities of insurance, always with a kind word and listening ear. Mom taught me that success is not just about personal achievements, but about lifting others up along the way. One of my most fondest memories is of her sitting at the dining room table, papers spread out in front of her, working late into the night while we did homework nearby. She would pause to help us, turning her focus from her work to our needs without hesitation. It was in those moments that I learned the true meaning of sacrifice and unconditional love. She showed me that family comes first and that we should always fight for one another. Mom was a beacon of hope for so many. I remember the countless times she would lend her support to other families in need, sharing her knowledge and expertise, offering encouragement, and advocating fiercely for those who felt they had no voice. She taught me that everyone deserves to be heard, and that standing up for others is one of the noblest things we can do. Jayne's devotion extended beyond her job and her family. Those who truly knew her understood that she had a deep love for all animals, especially the 12 dogs she cared for throughout her adult life. Jayne truly knew how to live life to the fullest. She had a passion for travel. I have so many wonderful memories of spending time with my mom. We shared trips to Disney, enjoyed sliders and hot fudge sundaes at Serendipity, and visited our pistachio farm in Arizona. We had amazing adventures in Japan, China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Europe, and our annual trip to Mexico. Recently, we took a relaxing trip to Glenmere Castle where we pampered ourselves, something we both loved. Mom also was the one that introduced me to the excitement of Broadway shows and the music of Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks. The only thing she couldn't get me into was her passion for shopping. She wasn't just an incredible mother. She was a proud and dedicated grandmother. She was present for all children's births. Jayne had a special bond with each grandchild, taking time to understand their interests and always showing up for them, whether attending Alexa and Courtney's dance recitals, cheering Ty on at his ice hockey games, attending James's lacrosse and football games, decked from head to toe in king gear, to spending one-on-one time with Nick, watching movies, reading books, traveling, and exploring. She would even read every one of Sophia's school books. Even if they weren't of interest, so the next time she saw her, they could discuss them together. If this wasn't enough, in addition to everything else, she was also open to hearing Noah's never-ending stories. This is who Jayne was, selfless, loving, and always putting others before herself. Jayne was a devoted wife, She and Bud, Dad, worked together, traveled together, and enjoyed life side by side. Their journey began over 57 years ago when their mothers introduced them. They shared a unique love that was understood strong through life's ups and downs, always supporting each other during both good and tough times. Together, they created a lifetime of memories that will last forever. Ruth Bader Ginsburg once said, "Whatever you choose to do, leave tracks." That means don't do it just for yourself. You will want to leave the world a little better for your having lived. Jayne has definitely made a significant impact on the world, leaving it a better place for everyone. So let us continue to remember Jayne and Schiff, not just for her accomplishments, but for the love she shared, the lives she touched, and the legacy she leaves behind. Let us honor her by continuing to advocate for those who need our help, by working hard, and by loving fiercely, just as she did. Thank you, Mom, for your unwavering strength and for showing all of us what it is to truly live a life of purpose.
The poet Chaim Nachman Bialik wrote, "After my death, mourn me thus. There was a woman, and see, she is no more. Before her time, her life was ended, and the song of her life was broken. Oh, she had one more melody, and now that melody is lost forever, lost forever."
I don't think it's lost forever. I got to speak with Jayne a couple weeks ago. She had very specific instructions about what she wanted at her funeral. No surprise there. She said, "I want you to sing this song, Time to Say Goodbye." I'm like, "Sure, Jayne, whatever you want." And then I went and I looked it up on YouTube. It's a really freaking hard song. It's in Italian. The range is like this big. But I wouldn't expect anything else from Jayne. She was a friend and an inspiration, a student of mine who challenged me always, whether it was in our adult B'nai Mitzvah class years ago or her annual Torah reading. Just a tiny and amazing force of nature. And leave it to Jayne to keep on challenging me from the beyond. I'm really grateful that Marcus Lovett is going to join me to sing this beautiful song for Jayne. If you don't know what Marcus does for a living, ask him afterwards. It is an honor and a privilege, and really grateful to get to sing this with you for her.
Me too, and I just want to say, Jayne, thanks for asking me to learn Italian in one day.
No pressure. Quando sono solo, sogno l'orizzonte, manca le parole. Sì, lo son che non c'è luce in una stanza quando manchi il sole. Se non chi sei, tu con me. Sulle finestre destra, monstra tutti il mio cuore che hai acceso, chiedi dentro me la luce che hai incontrato per strada. Time to say goodbye. Passi che non ho mai vissuto con me. Adesso sì li vivrò con te. Partirò su navi per mari che io lo so non esistono più. It's time to say goodbye.
Quando sei lontana sogno all'abruzzo che te manca le parole e io sì lo sai che so con me. Tu mia luna e tu sei chi con me. Mio sole, tu sei chi non con me. Time to say goodbye. Paesi che non ho mai veduto e vissuto con me. Adesso sì li vivrò con te. Partirò su navi per mari che io lo so non esistono più. Con te io li rivivrò, con te partirò su navi per mare che io lo so non esistono più. Che te io li vivrò con te partirò. Non esistono più. Io con te.
At some point, I realized my mouth was hanging open. Matthew, I think Mom would have been satisfied with that level of perfection. She cared for us. We cared for her. And the last favor we have is to shepherd her into the final resting place in this world and into the world to come. She's surrounded now by her grandchildren. well, eight of her 9. Yeah? Did I get that right? Yeah. 10. Who can ask for more? Her cup runneth over. In a few moments, we're going to offer the words of El Malei Rachamim and ask that God do God's best to live up to Jayne's standard of care, because she's worth it. If you're able, would you please rise?
El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim hametzeh menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina im kedoshim utorim kezor har harakiyam asirim lenishmat yochevet bat Sarah v'Mordechai yakirenu shehalecha le'olama Ba'al harachamim yastireha beseter kenafav le'olamim v'yitzror hachayim et nishmata Adonai hu nachalata v'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomar amen.
Compassionate God, Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Yocheved, bat Sarah v'Mordechai, our loved one who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us all say,
Amen.
Amen. From here, I'm going to invite 8 of her 10 grandchildren to serve as pallbearers to escort her from this place towards the coach. If you're planning to join us for interment at Sharon Gardens, I'd invite, actually, do we need to get to our vehicles quickly, or are we going to delay a little bit?
12:04.
Take your time getting to your vehicles.
We just need to arrive at the cemetery for 1:15.
And then Shiva will begin at Bud's home at 5 p.m. with services this evening at 4 p.m. Thank you. They're already eating there. With services tonight at 6:30. And again tomorrow evening, same timing, 4 o'clock? Yes. Yeah. To those who are gathered here, I invite you to remember that you are now filling the role of comforter to the mourners as they walk through your midst with our beloved Jayne. Send forth your feelings of love and support.
If I could have the pallbearers come forward first. Ledge space.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.